Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to travel back in time to the 1950s,
Ooh,
the birth of television,
okay.
to uncover the story of a woman named Maila Nurmi,
Mm-hmm.
the woman behind the iconic Vampira.
Very cool.
So just picture this. You're sitting at home in front of your black and white TV,
Yeah.
and everything on the screen is like super wholesome,
Right, all the family shows.
Yeah,
It's
like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best.
classic.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden there she is, this like darkly glamorous figure with long black hair, pale skin,
Right?
and like the most amazing bat wing glasses you've ever seen.
Totally.
And she's introducing late night horror movies.
Yeah.
Like, can you even imagine?
That's amazing.
It's so cool. And our source for this deep dive is Nurmi's Wikipedia page. And let me tell you, it reveals a woman who was so much more than just a spooky TV host. She was a true pioneer and a total original.
Well, and it's interesting because right from the start, her life is kind of shrouded in mystery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like she always claimed that she was from Finland. And she even suggested that she was related to Paavo Nurmi, the Olympic runner.
Wow, no way.
I know, right? But it turns out she was actually born in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
That's wild. It's like she created this whole backstory, this air of mystery,
Okay.
even before personal branding was even a thing.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder how many other stars from that era maybe did the same thing.
Probably a lot more than we realize.
Yeah, for sure. And so she arrives in Los Angeles in 1940, determined to become an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And she really hustled. I mean, she modeled for famous artists like Alberto Vargas and Man Ray.
Wow, those are huge names.
I know. And she even scored a few small film roles here and there.
That's impressive. So she's modeling for pinup artists and starring in horror movies.
Yeah, all in one career. It's pretty amazing.
That's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
But there's this story about her that I think really illustrates her charisma.
Oh, but
Okay, so get this. She was actually fired from a Broadway play.
what? No way.
Yes. By Mae West
Seriously?
for being too captivating.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. Fired for being too good.
That's incredible.
I know, right? Talk about stage presence.
Oh.
And speaking of captivating, we have to talk about those iconic bat glasses.
Oh, yeah?
Did you know that those were originally designed by Man Ray for Peggy Guggenheim?
No, I did not know that.
Isn't that amazing? It's like high fashion Met horror way back in the 40s.
Wow, that's a great little tidbit.
It really is. And it kind of all leads up to the creation of Vampira herself.
Right.
So it's 1953, and Nurmi attends this costume party dressed as a vampire.
Classic.
But get this, she was inspired by Morticia Addams
Oh,
with
right.
the New Yorker cartoons,
Interesting.
which were running even before the Addams Family was a TV show.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So anyway, she goes to this party dressed as a vampire, and a TV producer spots her.
Oh, wow.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
That's so cool how one chance encounter can change everything.
Totally. And even the name Vampira was a collaboration.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was coined by her husband.
That's awesome.
So the Vampira show premieres in 1954, and America has its very first horror host.
Huge.
I know.
Yeah.
It's huge. She basically invented a whole genre that's still going strong today.
It's amazing.
It is. And it wasn't just the concept itself. Think about her opening sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Dry ice fog, a slow, almost menacing glide toward the camera,
Spooky.
and then that blood-curdling scream. It was pure theater and unlike anything else on TV at the time.
definitely groundbreaking, for sure.
And she didn't just rely on like spooky visuals either.
Right.
Her humor was a big part of the appeal.
Oh, yeah?
Dark puns, witty banter, and she even had a pet spider named Rollo.
Oh, that's adorable.
I know. It was like she understood that horror could be fun, even a little campy.
Go totally. Camp is the best.
It is. And speaking of camp, she really knew how to play the fame game.
Oh, yeah.
She ran for Night Mayor of Hollywood.
What?
Yeah. And she drove around in a vintage Packard.
No way.
Like she was doing anything and everything to get people talking.
I love that.
Me too. And then there's this moment that really solidified her place in pop culture history.
Oh, what's that?
She appeared on The Red Skelton Show
Wow.
alongside Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr.
Two of the biggest names in horror.
Exactly. That's
No, Talk
amazing.
about being in the big leagues.
Seriously.
But even though she reached these incredible heights, the entertainment industry is, notoriously fickle.
Yeah, that's true.
And in 1955, the Vampira show gets canceled.
Ah, bummer.
I know. But here's where Nurmi's business savvy comes in.
Okay.
She retained the rights to the Vampira character.
That's huge.
It is. It shows that she understood the value of owning her creation, even in a time when women weren't always taken seriously as businesswomen.
Right.
She was ahead of her time in that way.
Totally. So the Vampira show might be over, but Maila Nurmi's story is just beginning. Exactly. She transitions into film and lands a role in what would become a cult classic.
Ooh, which one?
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Plan 9.
You know it.
Of course. Considered by many to be one of the worst movies ever made, but that's kind of what makes it so great.
Yeah, it's so bad it's good.
Exactly. And you know what? Even in a movie like that, Nurmi's presence shines through.
Yeah, bet.
Even without speaking a single line, her look is just unforgettable.
It's like her iconic style transcends even bad dialogue.
Right, and then things take a dramatic turn.
Uh-oh.
In the 1980s, Nurmi tries to revive Vampira for TV.
Okay.
But at the same time, another horror host starts gaining popularity.
Oh, who's that?
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, played by Cassandra Peterson.
Oh, yeah, no, Elvira.
Yeah, so this ultimately leads to a legal battle between Nurmi and Peterson over character likeness.
Ooh, that's juicy.
It is. It's a fascinating case that raises so many questions about intellectual property, especially when it comes to characters.
Yeah, like where do you draw the line between being inspired by something and outright copying it?
Exactly. And how do you even define the likeness of a character when so much of it depends on the performer's personality and style?
It's complicated, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And this case could be a whole deep dive on its own.
Totally. But what's so inspiring about Maila Nurmi is that she was a fighter.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't let this legal setback define her. She kept on creating even when Hollywood turned its back on her.
I love that about her. Okay, so we've seen Nurmi as a model, an actress, a TV pioneer, and now a woman battling for creative control.
It's true. Where do we go from here?
Well, that's what's so fascinating about her story. She was much more than just a glamorous figure on screen.
Oh, I bet.
She was resourceful, adaptable, and always ready for a new challenge. Let's explore how she navigated the next chapter of her life.
Sounds good to me.
So when Hollywood basically turned its back on her, Maila Nurmi didn't just, fade away.
Right.
She reinvented herself.
Yeah.
And she tapped into these different creative outlets.
That's what I find so inspiring about her. She opened an antique store. She crafted jewelry. She even did carpentry work when she needed to.
No kidding. Talk about a multi-talented woman.
Right. Like she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, learn new skills to make a living outside of, that traditional entertainment industry.
Exactly. And it really challenges that image of her as just a, glamorous horror host.
Totally. And it also shows just her incredible resilience. She faced so many challenges throughout her career.
Yeah.
But she always found a way to bounce back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's this detail that I find both poignant and revealing. Nurmi lived in a modest North Hollywood apartment.
Really?
Yeah, until her death in 2008.
Huh.
It's a stark contrast to the grandeur of the Vampira persona.
It humanizes her, right?
It does. It reminds us that behind the makeup and the batwing glasses, there was a real person living a real life.
Yeah.
With its own ups and downs.
And it's worth noting that unlike Elvira, who fully embraced merchandising,
Right.
Nurmi was very selective about how the Vampira likeness was used. It speaks to a different approach to fame, perhaps a desire to maintain a sense of control over her creation.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's almost like she wanted to keep Vampira a bit more exclusive, a bit more mysterious. It makes you wonder how she would have navigated the world of, social media and online branding if she were around today.
Oh, that's a great question. It is fascinating to think about, how someone who was so ahead of her time in terms of image and persona would have adapted to the digital age.
I know, right. Would she have embraced the opportunity to connect directly with fans?
Yeah.
To build a whole online empire?
Maybe.
Or would she have been wary of the potential pitfalls, the loss of control, the constant scrutiny?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been a fascinating journey to witness.
For sure. But even without social media, her influence on pop culture is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about how many horror hosts and goth fashion trends can be traced back to her.
It's true. She really did pave the way for so many others.
She did. And it wasn't just about the look, right? It was the whole package. Yeah. The humor, the attitude, the way she embraced the dark and macabre.
Right.
In a way that was truly groundbreaking for the 1950s.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine the context of that era. Women were largely expected to conform to these traditional roles, to be the, wholesome housewife or the bubbly ingenue.
Yeah.
And then there's Vampira challenging those norms with her dark glamour and her unapologetic sexuality.
She was a rebel, for sure. But I think what's even more interesting is how she achieved that rebelliousness without sacrificing her femininity.
Yeah, that's a great point.
She didn't reject traditional notions of beauty. She subverted them,
Right.
made them her own.
And she did it with such style.
Exactly. And let's not forget the humor.
Oh, yeah.
She could deliver a spooky pun or a witty remark with such perfect deadpan delivery.
She was a master of that.
It made her approachable, even relatable, despite the macabre subject matter.
Right. The humor was crucial. It disarmed viewers, making the horror more accessible and entertaining.
Yeah.
And remember, this was a time when horror was often seen as like lowbrow entertainment.
Oh, totally.
Nurmi, with her intelligence and her wit, helped to elevate the genre,
I think you're right.
making it more sophisticated and appealing to a broader audience.
It's like she made horror cool.
She did, which, let's be honest, is quite a feat.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about Nurmi's impact on pop culture, but her story also raises some interesting ethical questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like particularly surrounding that Elvira lawsuit.
Yes. That's a case that really gets at the heart of creativity and intellectual property.
Right. Like, where do you draw the line between inspiration and imitation?
Yeah.
How do you protect your artistic vision in an industry that's constantly borrowing and reinventing?
Those are tough questions.
They are, and it makes you wonder if things would have been different if Nurmi had been a man.
That's an interesting thought.
Would she have been taken more seriously in her claims?
Possibly.
Would she have had more power to protect her intellectual property?
It's hard to say, but it definitely makes you think about the larger issues of gender and power dynamics within the entertainment industry.
Absolutely. It makes you appreciate Nurmi's tenacity even more. She was a woman operating in a very male-dominated world.
Right.
And she refused to be silenced or sidelined.
She stood her ground.
Yeah.
And beyond the legal battles,
Yeah.
there's the question of fame and identity.
Oh, yeah.
She created this larger-than-life persona in Vampira.
Right.
But she also had to live with the consequences of that fame.
For sure.
The typecasting, the public scrutiny, the constant pressure to maintain a certain image.
It's that classic double-edged sword of celebrity, right?
It is. It gives you a platform.
Yeah.
But it can also trap you.
Totally. And it reminds us that even the most iconic figures are human beings with their own struggles and complexities.
For sure.
Maila Nurmi was a pioneer, an artist, a businesswoman, a fighter.
She was all of those things. And more.
And she left behind a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge us to this day.
I agree. But before we get too sentimental,
Okay.
let's shift gears and talk about something a little lighter.
Okay.
Remember that question we posed earlier about how Nurmi would have navigated the world of social media?
Yeah.
Well, I have some thoughts.
Okay, let's hear them.
Okay, so imagine this Maila Nurmi with a Twitter account, an Instagram, maybe even a TikTok.
Oh my God, I love it.
Right. I mean, just part of me thinks she would have absolutely dominated those platforms.
I think so too. She totally understood the power of image and creating this unique persona. Like, she was basically an influencer before the term even existed.
Exactly. And she wasn't afraid to use humor and a bit of self-deprecation to connect with her audience. I can totally see her posting like behind-the-scenes glimpses of her life.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe doing makeup tutorials or even hosting live chats with horror fans.
A Vampira makeup tutorial would break the internet.
Oh, for sure.
She'd have millions of followers like overnight.
Totally. But on the other hand, social media can be a pretty harsh environment.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially for women who dare to be different.
Yeah, we've talked about how Nurmi faced her fair share of criticism and setbacks throughout her career. It makes you wonder how she would have handled the negativity and scrutiny that comes with online fame.
Right. Like, would she have been able to brush off the trolls and the haters?
Yeah.
Or would it have taken a toll on her?
Yep.
It's impossible to say for sure.
It's true. But I have to believe that someone with her resilience and sharp wit would have found a way to navigate that world. Maybe she would have even used her platform to advocate for other artists, especially women in horror who were facing similar challenges.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
She could have been a real force for change, using her voice to challenge the status quo and create a more inclusive space for everyone.
Right. And isn't that ultimately what her story is all about?
Yeah.
Embracing your uniqueness, challenging norms, and never giving up on your creative vision.
Well said. And she did it all with a wicked sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And a style that continues to inspire to this day.
Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Maila Nurmi.
We covered a lot of ground tonight. Her early years in Hollywood, the birth of Vampira, the highs and lows of her career, her legal battles, and even her potential impact on the digital world.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope our listeners have gained a deeper appreciation for this truly remarkable woman.
Me too.
She was a pioneer, an icon, and a reminder that even in the face of adversity, you should never be afraid to embrace your darkness and let your creativity shine.
Beautifully put.
Thanks for joining us on another deep dive.